Buckeye fans, we are back with another episode of the Buckeye Breakdown Podcast on the Buckeyes Roundtable YouTube channel. Anthony Moeglin alongside my partner, Kevin Woidke, and we're getting set for a quarterfinals matchup at the Cotton Bowl. The Ohio State Buckeyes and the Miami Hurricanes are finally just 2 short days away from taking the field and battling against each other for the right to go to the Fiesta Bowl and the semifinal. Kevin, before we dive into everything, how we doing, brother? We haven't talked in a while. How was the holidays? How was everything? You ready for some playoff football here coming up soon?
Absolutely. Holidays were good. The football wasn't.
I saw that. Okay. I saw your post. About that. We got to talk about that because it was a brutal Saturday of bowl.
Sure. So it was awful. But no, all in all, good, relaxing holiday weekend of running around and never having a free second. So yeah, a lot of fun.
The king of sarcasm. What was the best thing under the tree for you this Christmas?
I got a big TV, so that was nice. Yeah.
What was the size? What's the size?
65 inches.
Oh, baby, let's go.
Be nice.
Heck yeah! You can imagine our two ugly mugs on a 65-inch TV. That's probably not what anybody wants to imagine. But Kev, we're getting close here to the Cotton Bowl. It's exciting. It's a matchup that it's like everybody feels like just kick it off. You got 10 days from the first round of the college football playoffs. So Ohio State's known that they're going to play Miami for about a week and a half now. It's going to be 26 days from the time Ohio State played Indiana to playing Miami in the Cotton Bowl. And I wrote a piece about this the other day, and I kind of want to start here, Kev, because the Buckeyes got to Dallas today as we're recording this, and Luke Montgomery had an interesting comment. He's like, "Yeah, man, I just want to hit somebody else. I want to see a fresh face, a new face in front of me." He said, "I was telling Kenyatta Jackson, like, I love you, dude, but I'm so sick of seeing you and blocking against you." And I thought about it, and I was like, they pretty much just ran fall camp back. Like, they pretty much just were like 26 days. It's like 3.5 weeks. Like, ultimately, that's almost the same length as your fall camp in August. And that has got to be so brutal for those guys at this point in the year when they just are in such a rhythm of playing games to just get into kind of camp mode, turn inside and really fix a lot of their problems, but having to do it against your teammates over and over and over again.
Yeah, these guys are kind of being babies. We did this every year. Like, it was literally every year we had a New Year's Six Bowl, 2 of which were playoffs. And yeah, that's how everybody's done it since the beginning of time. When you get this bye, you just don't play for a month. And to each their own. I think at that point in the season, we needed it. We were a little banged up, and it's nice to have a few weeks to not have to worry about ramping up to play and then hoping and going through tryouts, and they could ease them through it. So I agree with what Luke was saying. I agree it's a lot of time hitting your own teammates, but at the same time, it's nothing new. I couldn't even imagine what these guys would do if they had 2 days like we did. I mean, it was different. And
back in our day, right? Back in our day.
I was in the middle where it was like 2 years or 3 years at 2 days and then 2 years without it. And even by the end of my last year, I couldn't even remember what 2 days.
Kev, I think in Division III, we had it where we couldn't do back-to-back 2-a-days. So it would be like a 2-a-day and then a single, and then a 2-a-day and then a single. I don't know if it was similar for you for that one, but that's how we used to run it. And it was like, man. And then by the end of it, by our senior year, it was like, I don't even know what a 2-a-day is. Like, we had to be out in like 90 minutes or whatever it was. And it's just a different world. But Kev, they touched down in Dallas, and they had media day today. They're going, as we're recording this, they're going through their first practice on the field. And really, Kevin, the big news out of Buckeye world this week is that right guard Tager Shabola is listed as doubtful to play on Wednesday night. And filling in for him is Gabe Van Sickle. And Van Sickle, that's probably a name that many aren't familiar with or probably weren't familiar with before the playoff here and before the Indiana game. But he's a guy who got a ton of run against Indiana because Tager did get benched midway through that football game. Tager hasn't been playing the best, and it's hard to evaluate. You know, everyone's so used to like, oh, you can look at stats and you can look at numbers and you can look at touchdowns or whatever to see how a guy's playing. But offensive line's tough because it's so nuanced and it's such a group effort on the offensive line. But he hasn't been playing great, and they're going to put in Van Sickle. And from all all intents and purposes, it's potentially an upgrade from what we saw against Indiana and what his little amount of tape that he's put on film this year. Do you share similar thoughts to that, or what do you know about Van Sickle, or even more so, how hard is it to make that big of a change this late in the year when the team's getting ready for a playoff run?
It's a little bit of give and take. Like, we did it against Clemson with Demetrius Knox because Michael Jordan got hurt. But I don't know. I think that they've talked about how deep this line is, and I don't think we were that deep. I think there was a bigger jump between, at least in my 5 years, there was a much bigger jump between the ones and twos as there seems to be now. Not to say that the twos were bad in any capacity. I mean, there were some very good people that were backups, and they showed it when they got a chance to start. The flip side is it seems like as confident as they were at the beginning of the year, they have multiple people that can start in this offensive line, and they have. They've played them. They've rotated them a lot, trying to figure out who they like the most. So it has been nice. They've gotten these reps with each other to kind of, one, to put Van Sickle at ease, and two, to kind of build that gel between the offensive line with him in there.
No doubt. And it's a really good point. And, that's the funny part. It got me thinking back to last year when they were – I've jumped the gun. I meant to save all this for our second topic here, but we're going to stay here because I got more questions for you. But it kind of reminded me, Kevin, of last year when, Luke Montgomery got subbed in, and we were really just like everyone – it was like a chess match up front. It was like, all right, it was Josh got hurt. So they were moving guys all around, and then Luke got his chance. Carson wasn't playing well earlier in the year. Then he had to come back and play. And then they all kind of just like gelled together in the playoff run and proved that they could be really, really good. And I also think play calling assisted in that. So it's, while it is like, okay, this is different, I think that the veteran guys on this group, Luke being one of them, and Austin Saravold being another, they can like pull these guys along because they lived it just 12 months ago when they had to do pretty much the exact same thing for this Ohio State team.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's just what it is. And I think that had a lot to do with Fryer. Yeah. I think he's a really good coach.
Yeah.
And I think these three offensive line coaches did a good job this year. It's kind of been a three-headed monster, and they've impressed me. I thought it'd be too many cooks in the kitchen, but they've done a great job. So it's been a little bit up and down, a little bit up and down. Let's hope they hit their stride and finish strong, because, like you said, it's going to be a battle at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of the situation. That's where it's this defense versus this offense.
Yeah. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a moment. Was there anything else there was just a boatload of media floating around? Jeremiah Smith had some comments. Julian Sain had comments today. A lot of the defense had comments. Carnell Tate had comments. Ryan Day had comments. Anything that stood out to you as you were doing your scrolling today? Obviously, we're not there yet, but as you were viewing it from the home front, anything that stood out to you from what the Buckeyes had to say?
Yeah, so a couple things. One being not seeing CJ Hicks on the availability report, because that means that he might be playing, which I would love to see, because these games don't count towards a red shirt, and he's already played well in those first 4 games. It'll be interesting. That's one. Listening to Carnell Tate and Jeremiah talk about each other was fun, where it's like, they've helped each other a lot, and they get each other open. I mean, that's just what it is. And with Ryan, the thing that it was good to not see was with Ryan Day reclaiming the play calling is you didn't see a lot of uproar or drama or shots thrown at each other from Hartline today after losing those responsibilities.
Yeah, and I think that from what I saw, there was one. Hartline got one kind of headliner question, if you will, and he was pretty much asked about, what was the kind of the rationale behind all the 13 personnel and even some of the 14 personnel. And when I say that right, one running back, 3 tight ends, 1 running back, 4 tight ends, and he basically just shrugged it off and said, "Yeah, there should have been receivers on the field. We're gonna change that going forward." And it makes me think about, the rumors last year where that Ryan Day had a heavy hand in the play calling in the playoffs, and you look back and it was like, it was like foot on the gas pedal from Jump Street against Tennessee, against Oregon, against Texas, and against Notre Dame. And it was like very aggressive and down the field stuff. And then it goes back to that 2022 Georgia game where they scored 41 points, CJ Stroud. They lost 42-41 on the missed kick. And it even goes back one more to the Clemson game the year prior, where they boat raced and won 49-20 or whatever it was against Clemson. It was like all those are all Ryan Day had his hand on the scale a little bit, and you could see the difference. And that part to me, Kevin, was exciting because that tells me that, like, all right, Ryan's taking this thing over. He's not going to let mistakes from a scheme standpoint or a play calling standpoint impact how how the outcome, the ultimate outcome of this run.
Right, and that's what he needs to do as the head coach. He needs to eliminate as many areas of distraction as possible. So it'll be interesting.
No, it'll be all good. It'll be all good, and it was exciting to see that. So, like I said, I kind of jumped the gun a little bit. So we did talk a lot about Ohio State's the changes that they've made up front. And Kevin, another like level to the line of scrimmage conversation is that this year in this season, the 2 times that Ohio State's played, or I guess the 3 times, I'll give Michigan credit on this topic, but the 3 times that Ohio State's played a front or a defense up to its caliber in the tier that Ohio State is Texas, Michigan, and Indiana. In those games, they are 2-1, but 2 of those 3 games, they looked like a normal football team. Against Michigan, they caught their stride and they pulled away, and they looked like the dominant team that we all believe they are. But against Texas, they score 14 points, and it was Julian's first game. They tried to get to establish the run, they didn't. And then against Indiana last week, it was kind of last game. They were able to move the football, but when they got into those gotta-have-it situations in the red area, they stubbed their toe and weren't able to finish. How important is it to win the line of scrimmage? Because it feels like with this team, that's the only thing that can stop them if they lose the battle up front.
I mean, it is. That's the only way to put it. It's just important. You can ask how important it is. There's levels to it. I mean, I think toughness plays a large role in it. I think that, establishing yourself, not only like moving it forward on the run plays, but also moving it back slowly on the pass plays. Mm-hmm. Like you saw what happened with Julian when he got confused. You saw what happened with him. I think he had the Heisman in his head a little bit too, but you saw what happened, and you saw what happened when they got to him and started to get rattled. Didn't see people missed a few throws, especially on that first drive with Ennis wide open, probably for a walk-in touchdown, and it would have been a shot to the gut to Indiana. Yeah. We walked in, we blew their quarterback out the water, and then we score on the first drive. It would have been nuts. But the flip side is, if you have the people in place to protect him, you got to let this kid throw. Because, I mean, he's so talented. We have the running backs now with 2 to 3 weeks off. We've as healthy as they have been all year, running backs, whether it be Isaiah West, whether it be C.J. Donaldson, whether it be James Peoples. I want this to be a C.J. Donaldson game in the second quarter. I want them to just start doing what they did in the third and fourth quarter in the second quarter. I want them to blow them out. And if this offensive line learned anything, hopefully it's humility, because everyone was raving and talking about how they're one of the best in the country to what they did to the team of North, and they laid an egg the next week. So it's just they got it out of their system. Good, move on, and let's build towards something better. Let's build towards something. Let's get past this game. We're going to have a very tough task after this, but we got to focus on this one first. That's the thing of the playoffs. There's never really a bad team unless you are lucky enough to play a group of 5 teams.
Well, yeah, unless you're lucky enough to get Tulane or JMU. But like at this point, like in this round, there's 4 good games. There's 4 good football games coming your way on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. But for more on that, like the line of scrimmage talk, you're gonna be pumped about this, Kevin, because you've been wanting this for a long time. Get over to the site. We got a QR code. It's right over Kevin's left shoulder. Well, right. Yes, this way on the recording. Yes, it's up in the top right of your screen. Hit that QR code. It's going to take you right to the site. There's a couple stories up there talking specifically and getting into the kind of the nitty gritty of the offensive line versus defensive line battle. Because what I will say is this: that is Miami's strength. Miami's going to come into this game and everyone's like, oh, ACC this and haven't played anybody this and all that stuff. And they have 2 really bad losses. They do. And I agree with all. Look at that. Bang. Look at that.
As easy as that.
Boom.
Create an account. Let's go.
Go find Kevin, follow him. Go find myself.
Promo code Kevin. Create an account.
Promo code Kevin, you'll get a free story. You can read a story for free, and you can read them all for free. No, but Kev, the Miami defense is kind of the straw that stirs the drink. It's the engine of their team, and specifically up front, and that's why we spent so much time talking about the changes on the Ohio State offensive line, and that's why this game's going to be won and lost at the line of scrimmage. There's a couple guys up front, Kevin, that are just game wreckers for the Hurricanes. Ruben Bain Jr. is the one that's going to take all the headlines, and then right next to him, Akeem Misador is another guy that just get after the quarterback. Together, they have 16 combined sacks, and they can be the game wrecker type guys. What else is? How do you view this Miami defense? Do you think it's all fool's gold because of competition, or do you think that there's a little bit of legitimacy to what they bring to the table?
No, so kind of what I was going to touch on was the size of the Miami defense lineman. So I think it's more athleticism rather than power, and that's just I haven't watched a lot of their games. That's just from looking at it. But the reality is these guys aren't the heaviest. Like, look at our defense linemen, our interior linemen. These guys are 280 and 275. I think that means they lend more to athleticism rather than brute physicality. Like you look at they're not edge rushers. They're interior guys.
And to your point, though, like Caden McDonald on our side of things sits at 6'3", 330 pounds, right? Where that is like, oh, dude, you're going to have to move, and you're not going to be able to move. These guys are a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, even Rashawn Benny, who was Taylor North's best D lineman, in my opinion, at least interior, he's 305. He's 6'4", 305. It's a huge difference. I mean, they're still the height. They just don't have the width. And it's like, and I'm not saying you have to be a big guy to be good at defense. I mean, look at Draymond Jones at Ohio State, and it works. But what I am saying is one of them's Canadian. So, it's just not used to. I played some Canadian teams. I'm just saying that the
one's Canadian.
One was Canadian. No, I'm kidding. No, I just thought I'd throw that in there. It's a cool little tidbit. He's from Ottawa, Canada, which there's kind of a good pipeline coming from Canada now. There's some good football players up there, especially D linemen. Oklahoma had a good defensive lineman from Canada that was like a star on Hard Knocks for the Cowboys.
They come to Cleveland. All their like prep school, and they come to Cleveland and play on the team.
Something Neville, I want to say, was this D lineman at Oklahoma that was on Hard Knocks for the Cowboys. Either way, I think it's going to be more so get your hands on them and move them rather than having to exert a lot of power. It's going to be more so lateral movements, and that's hard to guard. I had to do it at Ignatius and at Ohio State with Draymond, who is a 6'5", 200-something pound defensive tackle.
Yeah.
He's just long and lengthy and got his hands on you quick and took care of it from there. So it's different. But to kind of circle back on that, they're the top 10. They're the 10th ranked defense in the country. Mm-hmm. Much better against the run, which they're 7th, than the pass, which they're 32nd. But I think that's what they mean. They disengage quickly and make tackles for not a lot of games. So it's going to be interesting to see how we combat that. They've watched a lot more films than I have, so I'm not going to sit here and give you my analysis off the bat. I would love to do a film review coming up soon. I don't know if we do this anymore. But no, these guys, they don't scare me, but they shock me because I didn't think they were this light.
Yeah. No, it's really a really good point by you, and it's going to be a different approach. And what they've been able to do because of the teams that they play, is they've been able to dominate guys just by pure athleticism, right? And that has kind of been their calling card when you go against teams that are, we see it. We pretty much see it in the Big Ten week by week. But when we get to when Ohio State sees an opponent that's more so on their level, then the details really come out. Then the ability to stop the run and beat Caden McDonald in the middle or make the plays on the margins they have. I don't know that that's going to be the case for Miami's defense. Now, what I will say is this. It doesn't just stop at the defensive line. It extends into their secondary. This group, after their loss to SMU, so that happened on November the 1st, okay, which is a horrible loss, right? So I'm doing a lot of qualifiers here. But since that loss, since November 1st, this group's only given up 2 passing touchdowns the rest of the way. Now, that's a 5-game sample size. It's not a whole season, but still, that is getting better where you were weak and showing up and doing it in the right way. And they're also ball hawks in the back end. They will intercept the ball if it isn't accurate. Jacoby Thomas has 4 interceptions on the season, and then Bryce Fitzgerald has 6 interceptions. Those are their 2 lead guys. On the year, they have 14 interceptions total. So it's like they will pick it off if it's in harm's way. And that's a defensive line connected to the backfield or the secondary where, hey, they know that they can be a little bit more aggressive because they have a defensive line up front that's going to cause pressure. Kev, if it were you, just real quickly, how would you try to attack this Miami team? Obviously, not going to get into the X's and O's, but is this a game where you want to try to put it more on Julian Sayan's shoulders and try to throw it, or would you lean more on, hey, we're going to try to run the football, win the game at the line of scrimmage, and try to grind one out?
Yeah, I think we put it more on Julian. It's been our bread and butter. It's been our bread and butter. Mm-hmm. Looking at some of the teams that Miami faced, I wouldn't consider them elite competition towards the end of the year, which is not, you play the schedule you got to play. I think that it's going to be a prove-it game for both sides, which I think Miami's kind of mad about because these DBs are they're talented. They have 2 really good DBs for that matter. They have, you mentioned them, you got Malik, or you got Jacoby and Bryce. I think you mentioned them, right? Or
yep.
No? Yeah. They're going up against 2 great receivers. They're going to be proving it. And this Miami team, everyone's like, they're not that good, not that good. Do they even deserve to get in? So then they get in and they played Texas A&M in a game. And
that's all we'll say about that.
But who knows? Maybe Texas A&M is better than I thought they were. I don't know. But my kind of take on the whole matter is Ohio State losing to Indiana puts a chip or puts a humbleness or puts a motivation in their craw that I don't think Miami wanted. I don't think Miami was really anticipating. I think everybody in the country would rather us enter undefeated, high on ourselves, and then we play Alabama in the second round and have to have a tooth and nail dogfight. I think this Miami offense has, Carson Beck is, just like this. But from the defense side of the ball, they've been pretty consistent towards the latter half of the year. It takes a lot to be number 7th in the country in rushing. They've obviously done a good job of that, and they've started to lock in on the passing side. So it's going to prove it to game for both. I think that the key is to get Julian and the wide receivers involved as much as we can, and then start to attack on the run. Because once we have them on their heels, then we can start running the ball. And maybe delayed handoffs. Look like he's going to drop back, hands it off, go. Like that. Those could be effective when they're all worried about the passing game.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. And I just keep going back to the first drive against Tennessee last year where it was bomb. We were taking shots down the field and 37-yard touchdown to Jeremiah. And then they come out and hit a 50-yard ball to Emeka Egbuka up the center. And they're like, oh, yeah, here we go. And then you go to Oregon and it's just shots. And it's like, okay, hey, our best players are our 2 wide receivers. Let's use them as much as we possibly can. Because the reality is, Kevin, I do believe that if Ohio State scores 1 touchdown, Urban Meyer said 2 touchdowns, they're going to be in a chance to win the football game. Because on the flip side for Miami, their offense is, in my opinion, not very good. Do they incite any fear into you at all?
Yeah, a little bit. From the standpoint of they have Carson Beck, who is he's a very, I mean, how do I put this to Matt?
Put it nicely. Say it nicely.
He's a good quarterback. I mean, he showed that he can win games at a high level. I mean, he's got some games where he throws for 340 against USF, and then other games where he throws for 160 against Florida or 190 against Stanford. And it's just he's very hit or miss, hot and cold. He's thrown for more than that same 4-game stretch he went that you were talking about where they only given up 2 touchdowns. He went 247, 291, 320, 267. That's not bad. And the person that scares me the most is this Tony kid.
Yeah.
I mean, this Tony kid, he should be, I think you said in the pre-show, he should be in high school.
Yeah, he reclassified. Yep.
He looked great against Notre Dame in week 1. Loved watching him play. He's led their team in receiving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. His last 2 games, he's caught for 146 and 126, respectively. Granted, one of those was Virginia Tech, but their running game doesn't scare me too much. And I wouldn't say scare. I think I'd be more worried about their passing attack than the rushing attack.
Yeah,
they've only eclipsed 100-yard rusher 1, 2, 3, 4 times this year. So, granted, we haven't done a great job with that, but we also haven't had a lead rusher at 40 or at 18 yards at one point.
Yeah,
which is what happened against Louisville. So, I think that's the key. You take away the run game, and you put the weight on Carson Beck's shoulders. I don't know if he's got that because they're lower scoring games. Louisville, they only scored 21 points. Their lead rusher rushed for 18 yards.
Yeah.
Florida State, 40 yards. They only scored 28 points. Notre Dame, they only scored 27 points, 69 yards. So, they score under 30 yards. The only time they scored over 30 points with under 100-yard rushing is twice. One was against Syracuse. The other was against Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. And so 3 times. But, that's, it's very easy to take away one. Not easy. It's very easy to say, take away one aspect, and it eliminates the rest of the offense. But in this case, it seems to be the fact.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned Malachi Toney, 89 catches on the year, 992 yards, 8 touchdowns, and he's a unique guy. If you haven't seen him by now, go search him, go Google him, go YouTube him, whatever. He's electric. He's only 5'11", but he's got all the speed in the world. He's going to return punts for him. He'll return kicks. They'll get him the ball however they possibly can. He does like to, he relies on being the fastest guy in the field. And he's been that way for a lot of their ACC games. He was that way on Saturday or whatever day it was now when they played Texas A&M, and he had the touchdown around the edge. But this is going to be a different speed level for them to face. Now, Kevin, what I think is interesting, and you were almost getting to this point, but in their 2 losses, when they were having to throw the ball and when all the weight and all the pressure was on Carson Beck, he turned the football over. 4 interceptions against Louisville in their loss, 2 interceptions against SMU in their loss, one of them being in the overtime period to seal the deal. And it's okay, exactly, Kevin, what you were saying. If you make him win the football game, there's a higher likelihood that he's going to turn the football over. And when he turns the football over, Miami loses the game. So I do think that he has limitations. It's unbelievable to me that this is his 6th year playing college football. And then again, you're it does feel like he's been in college football for forever. But 4 years or 5 years at Georgia, and then this is his first year here at Miami, and got a chance to take down the champs, man. And they're going to try their damnedest to do so. I do think that up front, Miami's offensive line is very good. I do think it's heavy advantage Ohio State on at least from the second and third levels on, the linebackers in the secondary. I think it's major advantage Ohio State. So we'll see how they how they'll handle it. But Malachi Toney, a guy to look out for. Mark Fletcher Jr., their running back, very cool story on him. He was pretty much committed to go to Ohio. It's cool and sad at the same time. pretty much committed to go to Ohio State, decided that, hey, he wanted to stay closer to home so his parents could watch him play more than traveling to Columbus. His mom is scared of flying, like has a deathly fear of flight, so she doesn't fly. And then his father passed away in his freshman year, and it was just, it'll tug at your heartstrings, his story, but he's an easy guy to root for. He's a good running back. He'll be a challenge for Ohio State to stop. He rushed for like 170 against Texas A&M or something high like that. So some tools on their offensive side, some guys that I think that they'll be able to take advantage of. But Kev, to wrap it all up, put a bow on it, no pun intended for the time of the year. What are your keys to victory for Ohio State? Could be on either side of the ball. Normally we split our sides up based on shows, but with the game being on Wednesday, what are your keys to victory for Ohio State?
I'd say my keys on the offensive side of the ball, as we talked about, keep Julian clean and move the ball. Turn this into a game that you've played 8 or 9 or 10 times this year, where it's not so much, hey, you know what, let's get out there, let's get out to a lead and let our defense win this football game. Yeah. On the defense side of the ball, make Carson Beck beat you. I think is the truth. We're talking about a guy who won 2 national championships at Georgia, and then starting for Georgia. Those were both his backups, but that experience helps a lot in this kind of situation. And then make him throw the ball, and he's shown that he can. I mean, in that wasn't he a Heisman favorite or a Heisman in the Heisman talk in either 23 or 24. Oh, yeah. He was one of the top prospects in the 2025 draft before his 24 season. He dated the Cavender twin. The guy has game. So it'll be interesting to see. But those are kind of my 2 keys: is on the defensive side, make Carson beat you. On the offensive side, handle the line of scrimmage like gentlemen.
Yeah, no, I really like those. I'll piggyback off your offensive side. Keep Julian clean and then be aggressive as hell. Be aggressive as hell. Don't hold back. Get Jeremiah going early. Get Carnell going early, and it doesn't need to be close. We showed that last year. These games can get ugly, and Ohio State has the firepower. To pull away if they want to. So my opinion is get it going fast and don't let up throughout the day on offense. And then on defense, turn them over. Find a way to turn the football over. Find a way to intercept the football or force a fumble. Get Carson Beck unconfident. Get him second guessing. When you do that, he's yours, and then you go from there. But I do think that it's advantage Buckeyes. I think that they got a really good chance to win this football game and advance to the semifinal. Man, it's crazy that it's the college football playoff. It's just wild that it's going to be right at our doorstep here. Are there any games outside of ours? Any of the other 3 that you really like, that you have a good feel on or you're excited for this week?
I'm excited for almost all of them.
Yeah, they're going to be sweet.
I'm excited for Indiana to play Bama. I think the one I'm most excited for, I don't think Georgia Ole Miss will be close.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
What I'm most excited for is, after us, Texas Tech, Oregon. I think that will be a great game, I'm hoping. Texas Tech has a very, very good defense, and Oregon's offense is pretty stellar. So it'll be interesting to see what that game looks like if the Oregon is able to game plan around that defense, because the Texas Tech offense leaves a little bit to be desired. Showed in that BYU game, where I don't think they're very talented. It's just their defense gave them so many opportunities that's just what happened.
Dude. So you know what I'm really fascinated about in that game? So it's Texas Tech and Oregon, and they're playing in Miami. So they're playing the Orange Bowl. I got down a rabbit hole last night. I was doing a story on ticket prices, and the get-in price for the Ohio State Miami game is now $40, right? You can get in for $40, a $40 ticket, which is crazy because the Georgia game, right? They're playing in the Sugar Bowl. They're playing in basically a home game. It's $250 as their get-in price, right? It's all going to be Georgia. That game between Oregon and Texas Tech, there might be 100 people in that stadium. Or you're going to tell somebody from Oregon to fly across the entire damn country and pay a boatload of cash for the first round or the second round of the playoff. And you're going to tell the same people from Texas Tech to go do the same thing. It's like, all right, maybe you could sell them on getting to the beach. There may be 100 people at that game.
Yeah, my only argument to that is I know that we travel well as a fan base. We went all the way out to the Rose Bowl for the
True. Yeah, it's true.
So, but I don't think Oregon has the same breadth of Buckeye Nation where we're kind of like the Yankees or the Cowboys, where we have fans everywhere. So who knows? But it's fun. It's funny. I'm excited to see if it'll look like a Dolphins game or if it'll look like Miami Hurricanes game. Because those Dolphins game when they were good was packed, but it's a football town, so I assume they'll go. But
did you happen to see the weather forecast for the Rose Bowl?
No.
90% chance of rain for the entire game. It hasn't rained at the Rose Bowl forever.
Well, yeah, I was at my girlfriend's house this morning, her parents' house out on the lake. I think it was Today's, whatever it was on NBC, is it Today's Show? I don't know. The winter washout. I guess that happens every winter. It just washes. There's a bunch of rain that comes through and washes out the Southwest.
Yes.
So,
dude, this isn't a weather show, but did you see the snow that hit like inland California, like into the Rocky Mountain, into like Lake Tahoe?
No. Was that a ton?
10 feet of snow. Or that may be an exaggeration, but it was like 5 to 8 feet of snow.
Wow.
It was the most wild thing I've ever seen. It was coming down like crazy. Cars were piled up. It was nuts. We're getting off the rails here. We got to stop this before we get too much into weather talk. Appreciate everybody jumping in and hanging out with us. If you made it this far, awesome. Get over to the site, Buckeye Roundtable. You can get it to that link below. I'll throw the QR code up as I close it down here. Hit that QR code. Get over there. Follow Kevin. Follow myself. And we got a bunch of content over that way. And then we get down to Dallas. I'll be in Dallas on Wednesday morning, and we'll be live from Jerry World all night. So make sure you're tapped in, locked in with all things Buckeyes on the Buckeye Roundtable YouTube channel on this Buckeyes Breakdown podcast. But appreciate you all hanging out with us. It's getting exciting. Just a couple days away from the start of the quarterfinals. Make sure you're locked and loaded as the Buckeyes get ready for the Miami Hurricanes. Thanks, everybody. We'll hang out with you again soon here, the Buckeye Breakdown podcast.